Go. All right. Well, everybody, we'll go ahead and start the webinar. Get started here. Welcome to this our home buying basics webinar. This is Brett Wild
Hello.
next to me. I'm Jeff Porter with UCCU. Brett's with the Wild Real Estate team and Keller Williams, and we're going to be your host tonight. We're going to be going through and telling you all kinds of stuff about buying a house and answering a lot of your questions. So anyway, Brett, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and we'll start there.
Great. Well, thank you for being on the call tonight. We know you have several things that you could be doing, and so we're going to make this worth your time and answer every question you have, hopefully. And what we don't hit, we'll make sure that we get that in person after the fact. So a little bit about me is I've been in real estate now. This is a little outdated, but probably 11 years at this point, and love it. Love everything about real estate. And you'll get that sense from both Jeff and I why we discussed tonight. But I've been using UCCU now for several years, and all my personal mortgages are with them, and it's just been so streamlined and easy to manage it all. And I just really appreciate this partnership with them. I was a technical sales graduate from Weber State. In fact, Jeff went there too.
Yeah, I was at Weber State myself, so probably a few years before you, but it's okay.
Yeah, maybe a couple. So now we've done just over 1,000 transactions as far as residential purchases and sales. We've been very involved. I run a team there's about 9 of us now, and we just work together and collectively to help people get the very best outcomes through the real estate process. So before I started doing real estate, I had a custom home and a remodeling company. That was really fun. So really at this point, if it has to do with your home or your property or how to know values on if you're going to be doing a project, what's that going to be worth on the resale side, we can help you evaluate all of that stuff. It's really exciting right now to be in real estate, but also understanding the investment side and how those that are getting homes are enjoying the appreciation and the long-term return on investment on that side. So anyways, there's a little bit about me. I guess you can see on here, I definitely love the outdoors. I've got 3 kids, and just really love what I do. So turn it back to you. Jeff has been
been with UCCU now for 7 years, and been in the industry for 25 plus years. Been doing this a long time. Love mortgages, obviously. I'm still doing it, and really just enjoy helping people really work through this whole mortgage process, and then just enjoy the joys of owning your own house and everything that comes with it. So I've lived here in Utah County in American Fork for 20 years now, long time. Love the valley down here, and got 5 kids myself, and we do a lot of outdoor stuff. It's been a lot of fun being down here and living in Utah for basically my whole life. When it comes to the lending side of it, we're going to get into a lot of this, but I've done every different type of lending you can imagine in the industry. So FHA, conventional, I've done rural housing and the Utah housing, construction loans, investment properties, second homes for people. I've done it all. So anyway, it's just a passion almost at this point. There's always changes in the industry, and that's the hardest thing to navigate, I feel like, when people are getting into buying a home. And that's the big part of what I do, and as a team we do together is help people really navigate these waters, get through them, and be able to make it as seamless as possible for our borrowers that we can. So anyway, we'll go on. Let's move on, James. And James is our host on this. He's working us through our slides. But we're going to get right into it. We're going to start talking about some things. As questions come up, feel free to put them in the chat box. We'll try to answer those questions as we're going along. and a lot of hopefully we'll answer every, like you said, every single question as we're getting into it. But Utah Community Credit Union, I think probably a lot of you are members of the credit union already, but man, we are a fantastic organization down here. The credit union started off as BYU Credit Union 100 million years ago, and then is morphed into this as a great big company. And we're all over Utah County. And funny enough, one out of every three people in Utah County have done some kind of business with UCCU, and we're really proud of that fact. So we're a big organization, but members are just the utmost important to us in making sure you're taken care of. And so that's a big deal for us. We're expanding now. Our charter goes all the way up to the border, and we're just doing a lot of business. I don't know if any of you've seen, but we've opened new branches in Harriman and Draper, and beautiful, beautiful places up there too. But on the lending side for loans, UCCU is, we like to think of in the mortgage department, we like to think of ourselves as a mortgage department within the credit union. We truly operate in a different mindset, and I kind of feel like credit unions got a bad name. Credit unions were trying to do things a little bit differently than the rest of the mortgage world, and UCCU isn't taking that approach. UCCU is taking the approach that we're going to do mortgages, we're going to be in business to do mortgages, and we're going to do it the right way. And so we've got our own department within there. We've got our own underwriters. We've got processing operations team. We actually keep and hold all of our conventional loans so they don't get sold off into the secondary market like other lenders do. And that's a really, really big deal. And it's just nice to be able to know you can pull up on your online banking and just see your mortgage right there. And that. You've seen that on yours, and I've got it on mine too. And it's just really convenient.
Yeah, super nice, especially as you'll buy your first property and then you'll start seeing the benefits of an investment property. But having them all in one dashboard and working with UCCU and being able to have that there and accessible and see your rates. And like Jeff said, I mean, I see UCCU more as a mortgage company now than I even do any type of credit union institution. So they're awesome.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're shooting for, because we want to make sure that when someone comes to us for a mortgage, that we have all the answers. We're doing it, and we've got a lot of seasoned professionals that are working in our department. Not a whole lot of new people, and that makes a big difference as well. And because we're a credit union, there's really no overhead. The credit union is already housing all that overhead for us, which that in turn we're able to give back the pricing to our members and give you better interest rates. So that's a really big deal. And on top of it, the credit union, because we have a better quality member that pays their bills better than the average Joe Schmo out there, we're actually able to get better rates on our mortgage insurance. And mortgage insurance is something you have to pay if you're between 80 and 100% of the loan to value. And we can talk about that a little bit more. But the purpose of me just telling you right now is you get better prices on that as well, and which lowers your payment. Talked about all the branches we have up and down here in Utah County, and we're growing all over. And one of the nice things is, because of our size and what we're doing, we've got these great connections with real estate agents like yourself, Brett, and your team. So we're working hand in hand with Brett and his team, and you'll see as we go through and we start talking about some of the benefits of that and why that makes such a difference. But anyway, we've got a great service here. We definitely want to be able to help you out, and I could go on and on about the credit union, but let's dive into the loan products, and we'll start telling you a little bit about that, what we've got to offer, and then again, please ask any questions as we're going along. So James, we can go to the next slide on that. So what's the first thing you need to do when you're looking to go out there and buy a home? You got to get pre-qualified or pre-approved. And there is a difference between being pre-qualified and pre-approved. Pre-qualified is you're going to put in an application, we're going to pull your credit, and that's about it. We're just going to look at everything you've told us. We're going to look at your credit and go, yep, you look pretty good. based on all the, the boxes we need to check. Pre-approval takes a much bigger step. So the pre-approvals process is we're getting your pay stubs, we're getting your W-2s and your taxes and your driver's license and your bank accounts. And we're reviewing everything and making sure that you're fully pre-approved. And these days, we're actually even looking to try and take a step further. And we're going to take your file and we're going to actually run it with a credit approval through our underwriting um, department. So the underwriter is actually going to put their hands on it. They're going to say, yes, I agree with you, Mr. Loan Officer. Everything on here is good. Here is the underwriting pre-approval, minus we still need to get a contract and appraisal and those type of things, title work to move forward and get your final approval. But in doing that, that saves a couple of things. It saves time for when you do get under contract. We can close you faster. And number two, there's no question that there's going to be an issue with your approval because it's already gone through underwriting. So
That's right. And so else does that mean to you? As you're getting in the market and you're thinking to purchase, you're going against a lot of other qualified buyers and borrowers more than ever before. In fact, a few weeks ago, there was a news article that said there was more real estate agents than there are homes for sale. And
wait, I got a stat. I got a stat on that.
let's hear it.
In our local area, and I don't know if that encompassed Salt Lake or just the whole Wasatch Front, but it said our local area has 20,000 real estate agents and 4,200 sales. So 4,200, that's it.
Yeah, it's
for the whole year so far.
It's a bloodbath.
It's there's very few products for sale. And you were going to say, or you've told me actually, about the number of houses, like how long they're on the market and whatnot. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, typically, just to give you an idea what the market's doing, typically you're going to see it would take, if there were no other homes that came up for sale, it would take 8 or 9 months for all the existing active homes to go under contract. Well, right now it's like 3 weeks. It's like so low. Why am I telling you that? Is because you're going against a lot of other qualified buyers, and so many of them are shopping with a pre-qualification letter only, which was a 5-minute conversation with their lender. And sellers are getting more and more savvy today. And when they accept an offer submitted, they vet, they call the lender, they see who they're dealing with and who's strongest financially. And when we can provide, as your buyer's representative, we can provide a pre-approval letter that verifies that your bank statements and your pay stubs, your W-2s, everything's already been through the underwriting process at the level that we can do without a contract. That's going to encourage and give a lot more confidence to the sellers to choose you instead of the other several offers they may receive. And so that pre-approval process and how that's done is really important to save you time, energy, and even money on the house that you end up buying.
Well, and one of the other strategies we've done together too is after you're all pre-approved and we've gone through that and you found a home and you're getting under contract, you'll have me call and talk to the listing agent, the person that's representing the seller. And I will tell them about, hey, we've already ran you, we've done this, that, and the other. And that goes a long way as well for helping get those offers approved over the other buyers that are out there.
Yep. Anything creatively we can do to win is our purpose, so that we can get you through this as efficiently as possible. We'll talk more about that.
Yeah. So James, go ahead and go on to the next one. So when we're in this pre-approval process, one of the things there's lots of questions that'll end up coming up, and when it comes to credit, a lot of people say, how does pulling my credit affect my score? And we are pulling what's called, there's a soft credit as opposed to a hard credit pull. And we do pull a hard credit pull. We pull a tri-merge of the 3 credit bureaus, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. And we're looking at those. And that usually does bring down your score about 7 points, but it recovers within about 3 months. So the nice thing about it is that once we pull your credit, it's good for 4 months. We don't need to re-pull your credit. So you have lots and lots of time to go out there and be looking for a home. And it's not like your credit has to be re-pulled and re-pulled and re-pulled. And when we do pull your credit, one of the things we're looking at is, what is your credit score and how does that, do you have the a high enough score that you're at the best tier for getting the best interest rate. And if you're not, what we'll do is we'll break it down and we'll start to look and say, oh, okay, what are some strategies we can do to increase and get your score higher? And just one of the things we might look at is, do you have revolving credit? What is the percentage of the balance that you have on that revolving credit compared to the limits? And if you're at 50% or less, you definitely have to be there to get really good scores. Sometimes it's going to take 30%, sometimes 25, 20%, or we have to really look at each individual situation. But really for your top credit score, 740 credit score and above is the absolute top score. But we've got a program for first-time home buyers that allows us to go down to a 660 credit score. It doesn't matter whether you're 800 credit score or a 661 credit score in that situation, you're all going to get the same rates. And that loan goes up to 102.5% financing. Mm. Well, what's the extra 2.5? Well, the 100% means there's no down payment, but you do have closing costs at 2.5% is covering the closing costs as well. So depending on your situation, what kind of loan you're going to be using, if there's a down payment, what the situations might be, we'll look at all of these and determine, what strategies we might want to use to improve your credit score and which way to go with that. The last one on here, debt to income ratios, and what do they mean? A debt to income ratio it's just a ratio. What we're just saying there is you have your income, and we're going to figure out a monthly gross income for whatever you're making. And then you have your monthly debt payments. And those include like your credit cards, a store card, automobile. If you already have a mortgage, maybe that mortgage payment. Things that would show up on a credit report, not like your cell phone, your utility bill, some of those little things. They don't show up on your credit reports. We don't take those into account. We're just talking about just the main big payments that you might have. And where you really need to be is 45% or less, but most people on a housing ratio are even quite a bit lower than that. So the more important thing that we want to do when we're talking to you about getting pre-approved is, what is that payment? What is that payment going to be? And are you going to feel comfortable with that payment in your budget? So we really get into that pretty deeply when we're talking about getting you approved.
Yeah. Now keep in mind, you might not be buying a house tomorrow. It might be in a couple of months or a year or two. We would encourage you sooner than later is take a few minutes and get a financial assessment done by Jeff or UCCU.
Absolutely.
Because it's so important to see what your credit has, what your credit score, how that looks, what's on your report. And there's a lot of effective strategies that we can help guide you through and coach you so that you can plan and know how to get the best rate. Because there are situations where just with a month of planning, there might be you might see a difference in 20 or 30 points, which could totally affect your interest rate, and it might be a better benefit for you to just do some easy planning, and so you can get a better payment. And so a lot of what you'll see is you work with a good team. If you can have a bigger picture of your end goal and your finances and how that ties into your home and everything else, and as Jeff and I do, the more you can plan out in the future and just really build a solid foundation financially, you're going to have such a different outcome through the rest of your life. And so we really want to focus on helping you do that.
Yeah, long term is important, very important. And in fact, UCCU has a relationship with a credit company, and this is one of our tools that we use called Premier Credit Consulting. And for those that have some real challenges on their credit, we want to get them with a professional. And these people, this is what they do all day long. And they have lawyers on staff. They have all kinds of things to be able to really negotiate and help you with some major credit challenges if you're dealing with that.
Perfect.
So James, you can move on to the next one there.
We lost James.
James. There we go. So we talked about this a little bit, but there's a debt to income ratio that we're looking at, but we definitely have to look on how much you qualify for. And these are some of the things that go into that. You've got your income that we're going to look at, and some type of incomes we can use as opposed to other types of incomes that can be difficult sometimes depending on how long you've been working. And just for an example, if you have, say, commission or bonus income, we have to have a 2-year history of that commission or bonus income in most cases to be able to use it. So if you switched and went from one company where they were just paying you $20 an hour, for example, and then you went to a company that pays you $5 an hour, but then they pay you these huge commissions, well, you'd have to wait and develop some time to be able to show what the average commissions are going to look like over time. Um, um, most people, they either are on a salary or an hourly wage, and those are pretty easy to calculate. But the other side of it is some people have business for self income. You might have a little business that you have either on the side or maybe it's your main source of income.
Mm-hmm.
And again, with those businesses, you got to have about a 2-year history, and we average those 2 years. And but there's some people are like, well, I'm not really sure what I'm making with my business. And it's really important to have a loan professional look at those because there's certain things we can count and certain things we can't count. And we need to put all of those together to determine exactly what your income would be for a self-employed person. And then from there, we're going to take your other payments, like we talked about, into account. If you have a credit card payment or an automobile payment, we're going to calculate all of those and then figure out what you can qualify up to, and then talk to you about what you feel comfortable with. And the last line is the most important part here, your budget. It's not fun being house poor. We want you to be able to go out and have a nice dinner with your spouse or go on a vacation or whatever it is. We don't want you to feel like you can't go anywhere and you're just stuck in your home because you got this great big payment you can't hardly afford.
Nothing worse.
So we don't want to do that to you. We want to talk you through it. And a big part of what you're going to qualify for is based on interest rates. And I think it's important for us to talk about that. And you've got a great little analogy and things you talk about. So I'm going to let you get into that.
Yeah, I mean, how does interest rates really affect you? And we're going to start seeing the interest rates climb a little bit. We've noticed that in the last few months. But if you're going to go out and spend $300,000 on a home, I wish it was that cheap anymore because that's almost not even happening. But for every 300,000 that you spend, say that you had the difference between a 4% and a 5% rate, and so that 1 point difference over 30 years, you're spending 66,000 more for that same house, or $218 a month is what it's close to breaking down to. And so
it's a lot of money.
And we're talking about now the median house price is closer to 450,000, and so that's conservative. Now we're closer into the threes, not the fours, but just know that's about how that rate adjustment's going to affect you. And so keep that in mind as you're shopping and you're working to get your best rate, and when you're thinking about timing. So many people are delaying in the market because they're hoping that the prices may drop like they did, in 2008. They really took a dive. Right now, from everything we're seeing and studying, it's not really going to, we can't rely on the house prices taking a drop like that because there's so much demand in the market and there's so many jobs coming in, and a large percentage of the commercial space is moving into residential now, and so that's keeping the residential side fueled. And so pay attention to the rates, just focus on that more than the price of the house, because that home price is going to continue to creep up. So get that good rate. That's the best discount that you can.
And that's what we've got going for us right now. The rates are just historically low. They're so good right now. And to be able to get down at 3%, sometimes it's dipping into the twos. That's such a low interest rate. I used to just joke about it, and we used to say that's free money almost.
It's close.
It's close. Not quite. I guess somebody's making some money off it, but it's really low. And in your analogy is a couple $100 difference when you talk about the interest rates going up for the same amount. Well, that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
Absolutely.
And you can qualify for a little bit more home because you've got a couple $100 extra to play with. That's a big deal. So anyway, moving on. Go ahead, James. Let's go to the next one. So just a couple of quick notes here. You've got different types of loans that are available out there. You got fixed rates versus adjustable rate mortgages. We really don't do adjustable rate mortgages anymore. That used to be kind of a thing. Adjustable rate mortgage, really way that worked was you would be fixed during a short period of time, and then it would become variable after that. So a 5-year option arm would become you'd be in that for 5 years at say fixed at say 2.5%, and then after that 5 years it would start to adjust, and it could adjust up like as much as 1% per year until a cap rate of some ridiculous number like 12%. So people would use that if they thought they were only going to be in the home for a short period of time, and then if they thought they're going to be leaving in 5 years, that's the only time they would use that. It might give them a little bit better rate than the fixed rate mortgage. But now the fixed rate mortgages are performing and are better rates than even the adjustable rate mortgages. UCCU, we've just removed adjustable rate mortgages altogether.
Good call.
We just do the fixed rates for now. And, maybe down the road we'll add those back in, but they don't even make sense anymore for us. So all of our loans at UCCU are fixed rate, just so you know that. Then there's conventional loans. Conventional loans are bought or owned by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. You've probably heard those names, maybe somewhere somehow out there in the world, but they're the two major companies that buy all of these loans, and they have guidelines and certain things that are associated with them. And down here in Utah County, that conventional loan limit is up to $548,250. If you go above that, you then become a jumbo loan. Now, conventional loans, you can do as little as 3% down. Some people do 5% down. Some people put big chunks down and put down 20% or more. If you put less than 20% down, there is a monthly mortgage insurance that's part of the payment. But it's just included in the payment. There's no extra charge to the closing costs or whatnot. And it's a good product, a great product. We actually like to put people into this one probably the most, because once you get to 20% down, then your mortgage insurance falls off. And it's the only loan that does that. If you're in some of the other loans we'll talk about, that you have to pay that monthly mortgage insurance for the life of the loan. So anyway, let's go on and we'll talk about the other ones. So FHA is the next one. FHA's Federal Housing Administration loans. They're great for first-time home buyers, but they do have limits, loan limits that are less than the conventional loan limit. So you may think, oh, you know what? I'd rather do an FHA loan. And we're going through and looking at it, but you could be limited depending upon, the size of the home and how much you're going to offer on it, because they only allow you to go up to a certain loan amount. So that's kind of a tricky one. We have to look at it. But why would you do an FHA loan over a conventional loan? Well, FHA loans, they do have, and typically they're a little bit easier guidelines, not always, but sometimes it might help you. People with a little bit lower credit scores usually can get a really good interest rate with an FHA loan. So we look into that. However, they do have an upfront fee that they just add to the loan of 1.75%. So it's like, yes, we're going to give you a good rate, but you got to pay all this money.
Yeah.
So it's give and take. Nothing's ever for free out there. But it's still a great product, and we do a lot of those. It just depends on the borrower and what their situation is. And then Utah Housing, I alluded to this one earlier. That's the one that goes up to 102.5% financing. So what that is it's an FHA loan up to 96.5, or the 3.5% down payment. And then they have a simultaneous second mortgage up to 6%. So 96.5 plus 6 is 102.5. And that 6% will pay the 3.5% down payment plus up to 2.5% in closing costs, which usually covers all of it. So that is a great product. It is, again, limited to a certain dollar amount for your loan amount. So you can't get a great big ginormous home with this loan. It's something that you have to, it works for some people. It doesn't work for others, I guess is the whole point. And then let's go on to the next one there.
So let me comment too quick.
Oh yeah,
What's
sure.
cool about UCCU too, I like, is there's not a lot of lenders that will do a conventional loan at only 3%. So there's an option if you want to go conventional or can, and you only have to put 3% down, you still get all the benefits of a conventional loan, right? And when you go conventional, as soon as you get 80% value in your home, then that mortgage insurance will automatically drop off, as opposed to anything that's FHA. The only way to get it off is to refinance out of it, right?
Into a conventional
And
loan.
a conventional loan.
Right, right. So if we can start you in the conventional loan, it usually is the better way to go because you're just saving money and not having to refinance down the road. Um, if unless you don't care about paying this extra mortgage insurance, which why would you want to pay that if you don't have to?
Right.
VA loans. VA loans are veteran loans for people that have been in the military. So if you've been in the military, this is a fantastic loan. Something to definitely ask your lender about and make sure that you're looking into. There's 100% financing on this program. There's no monthly mortgage insurance. It is just a really, really great loan, but obviously it's very limited. It's only for those people who have the military benefits to be able to use it. USDA loans are rural housing loans, and this again is a very, very good loan, fantastic, but it's got limitations. You can only buy in a rural market, and right now that is everything west of the Jordan River, so parts of Saratoga Springs and Eagle Mountain. And I don't know if that's going to be around much longer. That place is growing so fast. I don't think they can consider it rural very much longer. And then south of the Spanish Fork River. Um, so those are the areas. I mean, you've got parts of Spanish Fork, Payson, Santaquin, um, that area down there. Uh, Great loan. Oh, and the other limitation is you can only make a certain amount of money. It's income limited, so if you make too much money, you can't qualify for that
For the
loan. So
USDA.
yeah, we have to really look into that one.
Yep, we're gonna have to keep our eye on that one because I bet it will be changing soon.
Yeah. But if you want to look in those areas, definitely that's something that you want to take into account right now because it's such a great loan, low interest rate, very minimal mortgage insurance on that one. It's a good loan. Let's go on to the next slide there, James.
Okay, so the real estate agent side,
Wait, I forgot to mention one other thing.
tell me.
We might get to another slide on this, but I can't remember. Something that's really important for you guys to know is that we have with the 30% down or even the 3.5% down program with FHA or conventional, we have some access to some grants. And a grant is something you don't have to pay back if you meet the certain qualifications. Usually it means you have to live in the home for 3 to 5 years or something like that. Grants could be different. But we've got one grant that's for $7,500, and there's another grant down here in Utah County that could give you as much as $20,000.
It's huge.
They're only for you have to fit a very special income limit. So it's for those that don't make too much money. But that's a great way to get your down payment paid for and even your closing costs.
You have to
So
pay that back, or is that
no,
forgivable?
it's forgivable if you live in the home for a certain amount of time.
Jeez, that is
Yeah, phenomenal.
yeah. Is that limited funds, or is that just going to go until they change the?
It is limited funds.
Okay.
So once all the funds are used up, then you have to wait for them to get more funds. But the big one that's down here, the 20,000 one that I talked about, whoever that donor is pretty much unlimited funds.
That's so cool.
I don't know who it is that's giving it, but I'm sure that it's probably a big business owner down here that wanted to have that, wanted to be able to provide something to get people into homes, and is probably a very big philanthropist.
Yes,
I could guess on a few
absolutely.
people, but I'm not going to.
Well, that is cool, and we need as much help as we can get, and it's so nice to see people give back. So the real estate side of things, there's all these different scenarios on how you can go about finding a home, and if you can definitely do it on your own. And there's a lot of different strategies and teams and agents and personalities that will help you. And so I always like to tell a little story about why I got into real estate, and this is what really inspired me to do that. But finally, when I was able to finish college up at the university, I finally got my W-2 income. I'd read all the books about real estate ownership and investing, and it was an exciting thing, and I was eager to get going. And so I was on my route one day, and I got a job as a corporate rep, and I was on my route. I was driving down 1200 West in Orem, not too far from here, and I noticed a for sale by owner sign in the front yard of a house that was a couple blocks away from UVSC, UVU, now as we know. Anyway, I pulled over. It looked like a good fit. I was single, and so I had a lot of friends that were going to the school there. Anyway, so I just knocked on the front door, and a nice lady came out, and I told her that I was interested in her house, and so she welcomed me in and showed me around. And I told her I was excited, and I talked to my lender because I thought that's probably the next best route. And so we shook on a price. She told me what it was going to cost, and I think if I remember, it was $165,000. And I was thrilled. Seemed like a great thing. And so on my way home, I called my lender and told him what I'd done, and he was excited for me because he knew that I was working now and I had W-2 verified income, which is the easiest way to get a loan.
Right.
So anyway, I thought everything was just perfect. So I call this lady back up and I say, "Hey, listen, I'm good to go. I can get the money." And she said, "Well, just right after you left, there was another gentleman that came up, and he wants the house as well, and he wrote me a little hand note that says that he'll pay $5,000 more than what you will." And so I kind of feel like I should sell you the house because we had that conversation. So if you want to come back down and meet with me, we can go over the contract. I'll still sell you the home, and then we can make it work. So anyways, I was kind of bummed, and I'm like, okay, well, sure. I don't sell it to anybody else. I'll be right down. And so I showed up at her home within 30 minutes, and she walked me through again and clarified all the things that she was going to leave and kind of told me a little bit about it. And then we sat down at her kitchen table, and she already had everything filled out with the paperwork. And we went through and just filled out all the blank spaces in the purchase contract. And everything seemed to be going real smooth. We both signed off on it. I sent it off to my lender, and then we started the process. So really it took about 30 days for the loan to fund, and I went to close on it. I hadn't had much interaction with the seller in between, as I didn't really understand the process very well. But I still remember how excited I was to finish signing on that deal. And as soon as I left the title company, I called her. She didn't answer, and she texted me back. Just said, "Hey, the keys are under the front mat. Good luck." So I was like, "Okay, cool." So I went over there, and remember that week it had been pretty wet and rainy outside. And as soon as I walked in the front door, I went upstairs and I heard something dripping. And so I went down the hall and looked up in the ceiling, and there was a swamp cooler, which I didn't think to test, or I didn't, there was water coming down the swamp cooler, and there was some paint bubbling down the wall next to that area.
No.
And I just got done paying everything I could at title company for my down payment. And I was literally like drained. I could barely afford this loan, just being done with college. And so between closing costs and the down payment, I couldn't fix those repairs, and it was a burden. I was nervous. So I started calling the seller and texting, no response. And then finally, as I was thinking about what to do, and if she was going to call me back, I went in the kitchen, and you heard the story, but there was no fridge, there was no microwave that was attached into the cabinets above where the range was supposed to be, because that was missing also. All the appliances were out of the home. And then I went downstairs and found some other things that she said was going to be a part of the deal that wasn't a part of the deal. I mean, she had basically removed. And then as much as I tried to get a hold of this gal, she was MIA. And so, I was immediately stressed and didn't know what to do. And anyways, so I started doing a little bit of asking around, and I called my aunt, And, I'm like, Susan, what do I do about this? And is this normal? And she says, well, talk to your agent. Did you get this? What was in the contract? And so I said, well, I mean, what do you mean? I didn't have an agent. And so, anyways, I quickly realized that there was a whole bunch of things that I had missed. And now looking back, when you guys buy a home, understand that anything that's attached to the home is considered a fixture. And if you take your home and you dumped it upside down and shook it, anything that remains attached to the home is considered part of the real estate purchase contract. And that includes your stove, your dishwasher, if your microwave's attached. The only thing that may be excluded is the fridge, but we had checked that off, and I knew that she said that was going to be included. And so between that, the cost of fixing that leak, repairing the swamp cooler, and then the other several items, it ended up costing me near $15,000 of money that I had to basically just put on a credit card because I didn't have that cash. And so that was kind of my first experience into home ownership.
Nice experience.
It was fun.
Yeah, good times.
Even though I was grateful for it, I ended up, luckily, I held that home for just almost 3 years, and I ended up making a really good profit on it because of the tax savings that I enjoyed because I could write off the interest on my mortgage. Plus, it appreciated quite well. But then by the time I sold it and saw, how it happens on the back end and not totally understanding the selling side, and the agent that I hired basically ended up with like 30 or 40% of my equity through the commission package. And so I was it was kind of discouraging, but I learned so much, and I'm grateful for that now. But so why do we want an agent? What's the benefit there? So often, just like I did, I was moving forward in this process because I just finished, graduation at the university. I felt like I had some good knowledge. I had a contract class, but I didn't know that the only person I was saving money was the seller, because typically, when a home is listed, and even most sellers that are selling on their own are planning to pay the buyer's agent, and so most transactions have money already set aside to pay the buyer's agent. And so I just basically just gave her another 3% of savings because I didn't hire anybody, right?
That's huge. Now, a lot of people don't realize that. Like, they're like, well, I'm sure I can save, or I can probably get under contract on this deal because I don't have an agent. The problem that you're running into is that's already in there. That's already part of the deal. You might as well get an agent, use them to help you walk through this process and avoid all of these major problems that can occur.
So many things can come up.
Protect you so that when you get into the home, it's a super positive experience.
That's right. So what I'm telling you is a little bit dramatic, and it's not like what everybody goes through. But part of what we'll give you when we get together, we're talking a lot of basics, and we're going to learn more about your specific situation and what your goals are. There's a book that we're going to give you. It's always blurry when I show this, but it's called Buy Confidently, and there's a lot of compiled stories of several different buyers and situations and scenarios that they've gone through, and where they've stumbled, or successes that they've had. And so when you meet with Jeff or I, we're going to give you a copy of that. And and also for another incentive, just since you're on this call, when you use us as a team, then we're going to throw in another $1,000 that we're going to chip in and pay towards your closing costs just for being on here tonight. So few benefits there, but so the responsibility of your agent, there's several, and for one is to make sure that those types of things don't happen. We're going to walk through a little bit more about the contract dates and what earnest money is, and a lot of different things that go from start to finish when you go under contract. But just know you don't need to pay to have someone help you. And so that's the biggest misconception out there for people that are just getting in the market. There are many differences between solo agents and teams. The average agent nationally full-time will sell 12 homes a year because of how much there is going on in behind the scenes of organizing all your different clients and working with your current transactions and trying to do your marketing. If you have any listings, you're doing those. But most of us get into real estate because we like the freedom, and it's so nice to not have a boss to tell us when to show up from 9 to 5, and we're not taking, we only got 2 weeks off a year. So many of us, our culture is we sell a deal and we'll take off, some time and we just kind of hand to mouth is how we're used to doing it. But it's been really fun coming out of the corporate world and just, for years we've had the habit of just working, 60 hours a week, and we've built lots of different things specifically on how to find holes in the process from start to finish. And since we now we have, there's, like I mentioned before, there's 9 of us on our team.
Good team.
And that's important to you because the market is moving so quickly. And there's times when you'll call me because we've set you up on some property alerts and there's something that comes up that's just perfect for you. And you'll call or text and say, hey, Brett, let's go see this house. And I'll be tied up with Jeff or I'll be working with somebody else. And so we've got an automated system that we're all on a collaboration. And so it's easy for any of our other agents to hurry and get you in that home. And then,
Can I tell my story?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So I have a story about Brett's team. I wanted to get an investment property, and they're pretty tough to find the right buy that you want, number one, and then to jump on it quickly so that you can get your offer accepted. And Brett had me set up, and he'll talk about this later, but on these automated emails that pop up on properties that fit what I was looking for. And this one popped up, and I was like, oh, that's a nice one. I like that. And I reached out to Brett, and he's like, oh man, Jeff, I can't help you right now, but I'm going to get Mikkel, part of my team. She can probably look to help you. Talk to Mikkel. Mikkel's like, yep, I'll meet you out there when you want to be there. And because he's part of a team, I was able to get out there. We looked at the place. It was perfect. Made an offer. Like, she left and just wrote up the offer and submitted it. Like, that's how quick it was. And we got the property. And I own that property now for a couple of years, year and a half. I don't remember what it is. Anyway, it's been a great property. So I don't think we would have had that much luck had Brett not had a team set up. And that's really the difference between a team and an individual. Is you're with just an individual agent, you're really subject to just, are they in town? Maybe they're on vacation or whatever. But when you're talking with a team, it really helps you, get out there, see the properties, make the offers, and they support one another. They're completely supportive and helping each other to be successful, and that makes you guys more successful in getting your offers accepted.
It makes it fun. And so we're constantly collaborating on what the market's doing, how it's moving and adjusting, and it is moving and changing and being disrupted at light speeds right now. So we're always just thinking and understanding what and how to position you to win. And so anyways, while another thing is just understand what your team is that you're going to hire, who you're talking to, what their stats are, what other services, uniquenesses, values that they have to give. So for instance, we do local moving services as well, and we provide a lot of different assets there. But when you buy a home, one of our favorite things of what we do that's different is coming out of the construction remodeling sector, which we still are very involved in. You guys are going to start seeing that your home is one of your greatest, well, you're going to be your greatest asset, but it's also going to be one of your bigger expenses because unless you're buying a brand new home, which most people it's becoming out of reach as lumber and prices are going up, you'll very well find a home that's 15 or 20 or 100 years old, and there's going to be several deferred maintenance items that you're going to need to keep your eye on. And there's so many different ways and that you can spend money, and salespeople that are going to be knocking on your door that are going to want to, sell and upgrade you to solar panels or a more efficient furnace or whatever that may be. And so we've got that added experience to understand what the true costs are and how that's going to give you a return on investment, and understanding how long you're going to own the property, what you're actually using it for, and your financial goals long term is going to help you a ton to make and turn your asset into your very best investment that you own. And so we can help you evaluate the return on investment of the money you spend.
I love that because, I mean, I've had so many people knock on my door and they'll talk to us about, hey, we want to upgrade your furnace or whatever. And of course, they're not going to sell you the standard model. They want to sell you the model with all the bells, whistles, and features that they can possibly get to you. But do you really need that?
Right.
And
we can go on a tangent here, but
Yeah.
so many things that people want you to buy for your home. They're going to tell you that, oh, this is going to add value to your home. If you put the $30,000 solar panels on your home, you're going to get 30,000 on your resale. You can get more money, but
No,
guess what?
no.
You're not seeing anything different when you go to sell your home. Most sellers are forced to pay those panels off so that they can close. And if you buy the $20,000 new HVAC system, the heating and air conditioning system upgrade, versus the $5,000 one just to make the system work, and it's the lowest efficiency, it's not that nice. Either way, you're not seeing a difference in the resale value, and so it's just good to have a coach to help you make these good and these good decisions and not overspend to get less back if you're going to end up getting a new job and selling in 3 years, right? So
I love that. That's something that you're offering and bring to the table.
it's fun. I love that side, and we've owned several properties and we're constantly helping people on that aspect. And then the other side is, while inventory's low and we're out looking together, there's going to be several homes that might be a 7 or an 8 out of 10. It's in the great neighborhood in the right school district, and the square footage is going to work for you. But then you walk in the front door and there's a bearing wall between the living room and the kitchen, or there's just not quite enough space for what your situation needs. And so we're going to help creatively come up with like the HDTV experience that you see, like the Property Brothers or the Chip and Joanna's that are popular right now, and show you creative ways on how we can adapt and then come streamline that for you so we can create options when there's just not very many that are just good to go right now. So lots of differences there. Let's go to the next slide, James.
Yeah, well, we're going to the next slide. There is a question here. What's the income limit on the $20,000 grant you mentioned? Well, it's different for every family, or every person in household. So it depends on the number of people in the household. It depends on the area that you are, and they'll go 80% of the median income. And so I couldn't give you an exact number. It's going to depend upon your individual situation and how that looks. So sorry, I can't get you the total answer on that one.
Perfect. Okay, so he's changing the slide here.
James, you can move forward on that next slide.
All right. So what do we do? How do we find a home? There's lots of different strategies to consider when you're going to go look and shop. So the first thing is your open houses. You're constantly seeing every weekend. There's KSL postings and there's different online advertising where they're going to have an open house you can go on through. You don't need an agent to be there. The way these work is the agents have already contracted with the sellers to sell their home, and they want you to go in, and they're hoping that you don't have an agent, because as soon as you walk in the door and you fall in love with that home, they're gonna do everything they can to capture you as a buyer. And they love it because if you go in without representation, now they're going to get the listing side of the commission package and the buyer side. So anytime you see a sign for sale that is by a different agency or brokerage, Homey or Keller Williams or whoever it is, the sellers have contracted with that brokerage with a listing commission package, which half of it generally goes to the listing side and half of it generally goes to the buyer side. And so if you interact directly with that seller's agent and he's asking you all the right questions and telling you all the right things, and he writes that offer for you and submits it, he's tickled pink, because basically he just got set up to earn everything that he would have had set aside to pay out a buyer's agent.
Now, what's the problem with that?
So that's great for him, but what happens is, who do you think that he's got? Whose interest is he considering? Is it yours, or is it the sellers who he's financially obligated and contractually obligated with, right? So now that he's even making the extra money to help you, when you go in and start doing your inspections or you're going through other negotiations, because you don't necessarily finish the deal with what you started on your offer price, there's other moving parts along the way. He's going to do everything he can to make sure that he got the seller the best terms, the most money, and the best end result, while you're basically kind of just on your own, and there's just no way that he can separate the interest there and protect you. So
yeah, that's why it's really important to have a buyer agent representing you. A buyer agent has nothing else but your best interest in heart and making sure that you're taken care of, he or she does. And that's super important.
yeah. So keep that in mind. Another piece is, going back to my story is, had I called, I had a few friends that were agents at that point. Had I just called one of them and said, "Hey, listen, I found this home on 1200 West. I want to buy it. Will you come help me?" Every time that I've personally helped a client buy a for sale by owner, I can't think of the last time that, because we engaged them and negotiated the deal, they paid for the brokerage fee inside of that sales price without even raising the price anyway. So we have a very high success rate there, and so there's really not a lot of reason to go through this on your own, and especially if you're doing it for the first time. So that's how that works. But you should look at everything out there. When you see a for sale by owner and you see different properties, always send them to your agent to verify that they're actually legitimately active. And then once you can evaluate the big picture of all the different homes that you're looking at, and find the very best one, then as long as you have that person help negotiate, you're going to end up in a better end result. So and that leads into what sites to use and how do all these sites work.
We answer that question quick.
Yeah, I found a home only on one website and it doesn't show up on others. Do I have to work with that particular agent? So this is a good question. They take forever to respond and don't know when the model is open, haven't heard from the builder. Can I go around that agent? So a lot of people ask these types of questions, right? Here's another one. It had one agent listed. Okay, I couldn't pick from the other agent. We're going to talk about um, Zillow for a minute and the differences between the different sites. Okay.
This will help answer the question.
Yeah, I'm going to lead into that question. Zillow is, in my opinion, has the very best interface out there. When I go look at homes, a lot of times if I'm browsing or if I'm in a different state or a different country or something like that, I love Zillow because it's got the best pictures. It's easy to read. And so the way it works is, when you've looked on Zillow, do you ever remember putting in your credit card or them asking for any of your financials? It doesn't happen. So the way it works is, all the agents that work in zip codes, Zillow charges them several $1,000s a month, and they usually have 4 or 5 agents per zip code, and each one of those agents are paying big money to be able to have advertising. So when any listing, no matter if it's that agent's or another agent's, shows that house shows up on Zillow, it rotates those agents that's contracted to have a presence in that zip code. Okay, so what's interesting about it now, when you think about the perspective of the agent, if he's paying thousands of dollars a month to get exposure, and you call on any of those homes where he rotates through, um, well, that listing agent now, a lot of times, so that they can get the return on investment, they're gonna keep their listings active on the site, even though they may have already gone under contract or sold, because they're trying to get the return on investment.
That happened to me so much when I first started looking for some investment properties. I'm like, honey, I've got a list of these 5 places I want to go see. And we'd go over there, we'd go look and see the property, and it would have sold on the bottom of the real estate sign. It was already sold.
Yep.
One time we knocked on the door, they're like, we bought this.
All right, everybody, hold on tight. Looks like we lost Jeff and Brett due to an internet issue. I'm going to try to get them reconnected, and hopefully we'll get back going here in just a second. Hold tight.
Carla.
Well, can everybody hear us now? We got kicked off for some reason.
You still with us, James?
Yep, you're good. I can hear you.
That was exciting. Okay. Well, we'll just continue onward then. We were talking about Zillow. We're talking about these different sites. So the bottom line is, it's very common when you're using the wrong sites. Zillow is a great site, but when you use those sites, it's going to be regular that those homes have already gone under contract or sold, and so that's the reason why. So save yourself some time, get linked directly onto the utahrealestate.com website. If you can, if you're invited by an agent and you establish a connection, now that agent's going to be able to see your activities. They're going to be able to set you up with specific properties that match your criteria. And we're going to be able to do a lot more just to get you what you're looking for. And so the site that we use is wildteam.com. It's married right into the MLS. And so anyways, that's the best way to do it. There's a lot of back-end tools, like Jeff said, where we can automate emails to you as soon as the homes come up that meet your criteria. Then we're going to be able to serve those right up to you and get you in those homes as quick as possible. So let's go on to the next slide, and then let's read this question here. With the seller's market with long waits to get an offer accepted, or buyers coming in with over list price cash offers, it appears building may be a better option. What are your thoughts? Well, here's my thoughts on that. Builders have recently made a lot of adjustments, and traditionally, builders, you could walk into a building company and they would pre-sell you a home which would be built within the next 8 or 9 months. Well, now it's more and more common that they aren't doing that anymore. Instead, they'll build out the spec home and they'll wait until they're almost completed, and then they'll send them out to bid. And at that point, you're going to have to pay, you're going to have to bid against other buyers. Some builders are going to release 2 or 3 lots at a time and send those out to bid. And then in their contracts, they're going to have flexibility to do price increases, which stay up with lumber costs. And so, personally, my opinion, you're going to spend more money if you build now than you are buying existing. And the other piece is, what are interest rates going to do by the time that house is complete? And you're not going to be able to lock your rate until the house is near completion. When you buy existing, at least you can control that a little bit more. So it's big consideration there. So there's lots to consider there. Now, if you're in a different financial situation or building is the right thing, we'll help you discover that, and we'll find the best pathway for you, because a lot of people, they're still building now, and that's great. But the building contracts are very different than the residential side. Every builder has their own set of documents, and so it gets a lot more intricate. But we've worked with almost every builder in the valley, and we've seen most of those situations. So we'll evaluate that on a case by case. Moving down, the internet's been a little bit spotty, it looks like, in our office, so I think that's why it went out. So we're just kind of speeding through a little bit faster. But with us, placing an offer, how are you going to win? Okay, there's so much competition and there's so many qualified buyers. There's a lot of money in the market right now because anybody that's owned a home since 2010 has experienced a lot of appreciation, and a lot of these people are now gifting or helping their kids buy homes. And so you're going to compete against a lot of those guys. We've actually found 7 strategies now, not 5, that we're using to help you win and set yourself apart based off those other buyers. And so we'll get into that specifically, but just know there's a technique. And if you don't follow the steps, your chances are going to be less and less effective as you do this. And really the goal is, when you decide you're ready to go, getting in and out of the market as quick as possible is going to be the best financial thing that you can do. Okay, so earnest money. When you buy a home and put an offer in, so when you put an offer on a home, you find the home you like. The first step is you put forth earnest money. It's usually $1,000 to $10,000. That's basically money that's held in the title company or in the trust account of the brokerage you work with. And that's basically held as a referee, so that you maintain your part of the deal and the sellers maintain what they've agreed to. So That money, if all the pieces of the agreement are agreed to, will be released at closing and goes towards your down payment. And so going back,
and that's really important because some people nowadays are putting up quite a large amount of earnest money. And when they do that, they're like, well, I hope this earnest money is just not going to disappear. And it doesn't. At the end, it's going towards your loan and what you need. So sorry.
and we're seeing a lot of crazy offers right now because of what's happening. And a lot of our buyers are have to offer to have a portion of their earnest money non-refundable right upon acceptance to compete with the other offers. And so,
which is a reason why we're taking the steps that we are as a lender to get you fully pre-approved in underwriting if we can. So
that's right. So there's a lot of little pieces along the way that is going to help guide you and protect you so that when you finish, you've done your inspections and you've have deadlines that help you so that you don't have these nightmare situations that we've talked about. Okay, so in part of the contract as well, there's inclusions which specify which parts of the the appliances or anything specific in the home that's going to be as part of the purchase contract that's contractually included. There's deadlines that's part of the purchase contract, and there's the seller disclosure deadline is the first one. That's a deadline that the seller is contractually obligated to send us as the buyer a packet. It's about a 7-page packet that outlines everything they know about their home, any insurance claims, any repairs they've had done, any problems with the heating or the electrical, so any boundary disputes. It really allows us to get in the head of the seller and understand what they know. And they have a legal obligation to be very honest and transparent about that so that we can use that as part of our due diligence, which is the next deadline, is our due diligence deadline. So you're generally going to have 1 to 2 weeks as your due diligence to do a home inspection, to check out the bylaws or the minutes, the financials, if there's an HOA involved. So the goal is we're test driving the home as best as we can without owning it. And so we have a specific, if there are specific concerns, we can ask the sellers to fix those or give us money towards those concerns. So when we move past that deadline, now that we feel confident and we can move ahead, knowing that we won't have these types of problems. And so typically, traditionally, your earnest money is associated with each of those deadlines. And if you're not happy with the outcome, you can walk away and get your earnest money back. So it really depends on the situation of the home we offer on and how much competition there is. But we're going to walk you through all these steps. So as we go past those deadlines, you're confident and comfortable. So more deadlines. You can go ahead and change the slide, James.
Yeah, we got financial and appraisal deadline, and then we've got the final settlement deadline.
Okay, so the financing and appraisal is when Jeff is going to have the appraisal back, your finances, your loan package is complete, and you sign off on your closing documents. You're now acknowledging that the terms, the money is all what you agreed to. So then we can move to closing, and there's no surprises, right? So those are quickly. We're going fast because of the some technical things we're going to run into, but anyways, those are part of what you'll need to know on the deadlines of the contract. Before we close, now up to 7 days before we actually go through, this is where I really wish I had somebody to help me, because had I known, I was basically entitled to go through that home a week before I closed to make sure that everything that was agreed to on the contract was still in the house. There wasn't any leaks, any repairs that we got the seller to agree to were completed. I skipped that whole part, and that's what burnt me so bad. And so before we get to closing, we're going to go through that house together and verify that everything agreed to is completed on that house, because as soon as you sign on those loan documents and the home records with your name, to undo everything is very, very difficult. In fact, most of the time you just have to turn around and sell, and that's where you're going to have a lot of expenses to do so. So we want to be very, very meticulous on these steps so you don't run into the type of problems that we talked about.
Again, a great reason to have a solid real estate agent and team to be able to support you and make sure that these things are happening.
Right. So let's move to the next slide here, James. And then we'll answer more of these questions.
This is not true.
What's that?
For today's market, buyer can no longer ask for an inspection. Those who lose out on having their offer accepted. Is this true?
So no, there's a lot of things that you're hearing. And depending on the situation of the home, you may have to waive your due diligence, or you may choose to not require that for the seller's perspective. That just means that you're not going to ask the sellers to do repairs and you're going to buy the home as is, but you're still entitled to do your inspection, and it's still a good idea to know what you're getting into, even though you're committing not to have the sellers make repairs. But it's if you get into a home where maybe there was a meth lab there, or maybe the roof has a major leak and there's mold, and it's going to cost you more money than what you have in earnest money that you might lose, it's still the best financial situation to consider that and then make a decision if you should move forward or not. So there's still a lot of things that need to be considered, and so you're not giving up your ability to do an inspection. You just might be, based off what you offered and what was accepted, you might be sacrificing some of your leverage, but you're never saying that you're not. Well, traditionally, you're still going to want to do an inspection. So it really depends on how we negotiate that deal.
Right.
So investment properties, there's some questions here. So once you close your home, you're going to get your keys, you're going to change your mail. We're going to walk you through every single step of the process, spoon feed you through the whole things. Spoon feed, did I say that right? You're going to know everything confidently, what to expect. You don't need to know it all now. And so step by step, you're going to know what to do. Okay. There's some cool tax benefits, appreciation, some benefits of home ownership that are important to know.
We kind of go into appreciation a little bit, just quickly, but we're seeing about, is it 22% year over year appreciation right now? I mean, it's been pretty wild.
Yeah, every area is different, but on average in Utah, you're going to be about 20% this year. And so keep that in mind, because you're hearing all these horror stories about overpaying on a home, and I don't want to do that. Nobody does. But if you take a $300,000 home, it's more than that, but for easy numbers, let's say $500,000. You buy a $500,000 home. If that home appreciates by 20% in a year, what's that number, Jeff?
That's $100,000
in 1 year. So think about this. Like, yeah, I know I'm going to have to beat that next guy, and I might have to pay $15,000 higher than the next offer, but you're only talking about a month or two before that home appreciates and you're back to break even, and then you're enjoying the back end benefit. And so we want to help you see the big picture as best as possible, because the more you delay and get caught up on that situation of how much homes are costing, the more all these people that are coming out of state and have more money than we do are going to continue to beat you out. And they're going to, if it takes you 2 or 3 months to find a home to buy, that might end up costing you more money than you put in for your initial bid. Makes sense? So understanding what the market's doing is so
it's
important.
really key. And again, because we have the low interest rates right now, that's the biggest factor of how much you're going to pay over time. So knowing that you're getting really low interest rates now and that appreciation is occurring, this is a really, really great time to buy. It's a great time to get in, knowing that, okay, yes, that home was more expensive now than it was a year ago, but so was everybody else's. And now you've got into this home, you're going to still get the appreciation going forward. And I like to think of real estate as just like any other investment. It is a great investment opportunity in the fact that you're going to get this appreciation on the home. And then as you're making your payments over time, your balance is going down too. So you're creating this wealth that's growing both directions out of the home. And a lot of people look at it, where do the majority of money come from people over time? It comes out of their house. That's where the most money does in investment and retirement.
In fact, right down here, we have a stat. 83% of people's retirement comes from their home equity in one form or another. And so there's a lot of really cool tools that's available to you. Home equity lines of credit, lots of different ways where the majority of their wealth is from their homes that they own. And a lot of people, they own multiple homes, and now they have compounding interest that's occurring. It's powerful. And so we're going to help walk you through the ins and outs and the big picture of all these different strategies on how to pay your home down faster, how to maximize your return on investment. But again, Jeff and I's focus really is just to help you get the very best outcome, and we're excited to do that. And it's just since you're here tonight too, please email us. When you're getting off this call, send us a quick email and give us your search criteria of what you're looking for, what's important to you, because you want to start learning the rhythm of the market and what it's doing, and what homes are coming up in the areas you're interested in. And as you start to do that, we can set you up on tools that don't cost us anything and get a financial assessment with Jeff. We're going to help you do more planning, forward thinking, and so you're better prepared. And when the right home comes up, we're going to be ready to go. We're going to have that pre-approval, and you're going to feel confident because you started to see what's coming up. So let us do that for you and start getting you on those tools and as a benefit. And then, like we said, as you use both of us, then we're going to throw in on some incentive on your closing costs there and just make it the very best experience that we can.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, for those that may have missed that, Brett and I are both chipping in $500 for $1,000 total. So if you're using us, you're going to get that off either your down payment or your closing costs. But that's an extra $1,000 that you don't have to pull out of your pocket, which is really nice. There was a question down here, Brett. What's better location, south of BYU campus by the cemetery, or Vineyard because of the new temple coming in there?
So that depends on what you're trying to achieve, right? So everybody has a different motive and goal why they're buying real estate, and so if you're talking about appreciation, then we're happy to run reports on both areas or any area and show you.
They've got a great system. It's called the comparative market analysis.
Comparative market analysis, CMA.
A CMA for short. And anyway, so
yeah, we can basically run financial tools of all sorts on your specific questions that relates to different areas or your home and how it's doing, and help guide you financially. So we're really trying to do is, financial planning through home ownership. And so it really depends. There's a lot of speculation that if you build right next to a temple or next to a certain thing, you're going to get a better appreciation. And so there's some truth to that, and we'll walk through that specifically. But a lot of you are going to have a lot of different type of questions that are specific, and we want to just again highlight that this was just a good overview, but let's connect outside of the webinar here and really delve into what you're specifically trying to accomplish, and make sure we dial you in so that you can have the very best tools and strategy that relates to you guys.
Yeah, great. Well, we really
And it looks like we lost him again, everybody, but I'm going to stay on for 5 to 10 more minutes and see if they come back. But if there's anyone that wants a copy of tonight's recording, I can get that to you. Just let me know in the chat. Again, we have a contact us slide up for Jeff and Brett. Any questions or anything that you need help with in the search for a home, please feel free to reach out to either Brett or Jeff. Obviously, Jeff handles the lending and Brett handles the real estate side. So keep that in mind. But obviously, we're willing to help you with whatever you need as you move forward with this process. So again, if you would like a copy, just let me know and I'll get those out to you sometime tomorrow. And if you want, you can hang on for a couple minutes, see if they come back. If not, we were basically done with the webinar this evening. So thank you for attending and have a great night.